Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ISO Review Podcast, a production of Simplify ISO. The ISO Review Podcast shares the latest international standards development and is your resource for getting the most out of your management systems. Hello, I'm Howard Fox, business coach and host of the Success Insight Podcast, and I'm here with ISO management system professional Jim Moran, who is celebrating his 33rd year delivering ISO support. Now, we are putting international into our episode today because we have the great pleasure to have Dejan Kosutic as our guest today. Dan is the CEO of Advisera, an information services and quality management company, which was founded in 2009. Dan is a renowned cybersecurity expert for ISO 27001, NIS2, and DORA. Now we're going to ask Dan to explain what those are. And he is passionate about making compliance accessible. And today, Dan and Jim are going to discuss how to use AI to enhance your information security management system. Jim, Dan, it's a pleasure to have you both here on the ISO Review Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Howard. It's great to be here, and especially to have an international guest with us today. And how are you doing, Dejan? It's good to see you.
I'm great, and thanks for having me. I'm really honored to participate in your show.
Fantastic.
It's first of all, we both had a few years at this, and it's great to share ideas, especially as AI is starting to take off in the whole world. Doesn't matter what it is. I imagine even people who do daycare access AI once in a while, maybe on a daily basis. So specifically today, I wanted to talk about using AI to enhance your information security management system, ISO 27001. And just wondered, Dan, if you could give us some use cases of using artificial intelligence relative to 27001 and for compliance in general.
Hey, guys, before we jump into that, and I know we want to jump into that, Dan,
Yes.
I would love if you would first just give us a little bit of a high-level background, because you're not yet, I think Jim's got a couple years on you. You and I might be very close in age, but tell us a little bit about your background. And also, I am curious, how did you two meet? All right. So, Dan, why don't you take the stage first? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I can give you an intro, Dan. I'll say, so how did you get into, I'll start by saying, how did you get into this field? How's that would you be able to pick that up? Okay, I think.
Yeah, sure. So I started actually in consulting business. Well, a long time ago. It was like 2005, I think. It was basically when the 27001 was first published, the first version of the standard. Anyway, I had a career back then previously in banking, and I dealt with also with IT systems a lot. And then a friend actually advised me. He knew that I was going in a consulting business, and he advised me actually that I can connect these things together.
Mhm.
Governance and IT and cybersecurity back then was a pretty new thing, especially cybersecurity governance. And basically, this is how my career took off. And what I did in the beginning the most was providing services, consulting services to this financial sector, like banking and insurance companies. Back then in my country, the central bank actually introduced these new cybersecurity rules, and 27001 was really the perfect framework actually to comply with these. And so basically it came together. And so then in 2009, I founded Advisera company. My idea was really that I wanted to scale the knowledge that I gained through this consultancy, because as you know, consulting job is very nice, but you always have to do the thing manually, so to say, with your clients. Whereas if you start selling, I would say, a knowledge online, then you're multiplying it in some way. And this is exactly what we wanted to do with Advisera, to basically create an online source of knowledge for any professional that wants to deal with not only 27001, but any ISO standards and basically help them work with these frameworks.
Well, it's certainly a bonus for you and me in the world of implementing standards that in 2013, when 27001 came out in the high level structure or harmonized structure, and we were able to link 9001, 14,001, 45,001, 27,001, and all. It's just been such a boon for me. I'm sure you found the same thing. So speaking of that, can you start us off maybe with some use cases of using artificial intelligence for ISO 27001 and for compliance work in general?
Yeah, so I think this AI thing, I mean, generative AI will change not only 27001, but working with any kind of compliance activities, it will completely change, I would say, how the things are done. And to be honest, we are still in very early stage of this generative AI thing, since it started in late 2022. Now we're, let's say, 2025. So we are only, let's say, third year of this. So it's similar like internet was in back 1994, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there is still a long way to go with generative AI. So how I think it can help. I mean, on some, I would say, basic level, anyone that wants to enter into this, let's say, activity of complying or implementing ISO 27001, it's very easy actually to ask any question around it to, I don't know, ChatGPT or any of these AI bots. You can generate a checklist for the implementation. You can generate documents. Well, this is really basic stuff, but you can actually move, I would say, quite more forward. You can actually go and develop more, I would say, sophisticated things, like you can do risk assessment. So actually help create some kind of a conversation with the chatbot and help you actually identify the assets and threats and vulnerabilities, identify the level of threats and level of impact and likelihoods. You can, first of all, develop your methodology for the risk assessment. You can connect then those two particular controls. You can review all the documents, upload them to any of these chatbots, and actually give some comments on how to improve them. You can help set up measurement systems within your company on how to measure the effectiveness of all these controls and processes. You can develop training programs. You can simply say what you want, actually, what type of company you have, what type of employees, and then move on actually and create training programs, create training materials, PowerPoint presentations, scripts. You can now even create videos based on your text. So
Yes.
you can go really, really very, very far with these things. And you can actually move even further than this. You can start creating, or at least this is, I would say, near future, you can create agents, AI agents, which will then do part of this work for you. So for example, you can, let's say, install, or you will be able to install, I don't know, AI agent on your, let's say, Slack system or whatever you're using for messaging, and then actually this kind of an agent can automatically check if whatever you're doing is actually compliant with your internal policies and procedures.
It's
So
amazing.
there are so many things that will happen that it's really hard to actually anticipate all of them right now.
Jim, before you jump in, I've got a quick question. And Dan, how did Advisera, how did you ramp up to start to do this work? I mean, it's one thing to be aware of ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, other AI tools out there, but how did your organization ramp up to have this expertise? And what were the type, who were these folks that you brought in that could then take something that's growing exponentially every day, it's changing literally every day, and ramp up to say, this is what we need to do? Because I mean, it's not all on your shoulders, I would imagine.
No, of course, I'm not the only one, but to be honest, we are not hiring AI expert. Or right now, we are not. Let's say 2 years ago, when we started with our first AI project, we did hire experts who helped us actually build this first application, AI application that we built. It was a kind of a knowledge base, and then we needed help with this technical part of building this technical, let's say, repository. It's called RAG in this AI terminology. from where we actually drew, this was our proprietary knowledge base, and we needed a technical system to actually draw this information towards some user interface that we were building. So we needed experts from the outside. Now, lately, you don't need actually this kind of expertise anymore, because you can actually build this kind of an interface without a technical expert. So nowadays, we're building everything internally, because the technology became so, I would say, simplified, that anyone who has at least a little bit of technical knowledge can actually build this kind of AI systems without some in-depth or without some specific experts for building this.
Okay.
Of course, we are not speaking about very complex systems. For that, you would need some specific experts for that. But so what I'm trying to say here is, if you are, let's say, smaller or mid-sized company, if you are not into some very complex topic, you can actually build all of these applications yourself with your own internal expertise by simply following some tutorials on the internet.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Dejan. It's and we've been using it with our clients as well, and they can even, as opposed to just saying we're a XYZ kind of company with this many employees and so on, a couple of our clients have actually put their website into the question. So the results that come back are so specific, it's almost mind-blowing to see how detailed you can get. And then they're aware, of course, that anything that they discover becomes public knowledge. And maybe I'll talk to you after the show sometime to find out more about building large language models. It sounds like you guys are into that for sure. So before we get that or get that far, how do you handle, or how do you teach your clients to handle accuracy, security, privacy, those kind of things when they're using AI?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Whenever you take a look at some kind of that is done for usage of AI, security and privacy are always at the top. This is usually the biggest issue, or the biggest, let's say, problem that potential users of AI have. And especially the more, let's say, serious things you try to resolve with AI, the more it becomes important. So on the security end, typically how you do this is that, on the privacy end, typically how you do it is that you actually create a separate server and install a large language model on it, so that you're not using some cloud-based server. Because if you want only control from your particular environment, that this information doesn't go anywhere else, then this is the way to do it, that you have your own server with a large language model. Security perspective here is, I would say, a little bit more complicated, because you have to ensure, if you're using large language models for any processes in-house, you have to make sure that, first of all, that the access to the data is really granular, right? So you don't want the large language model to allow the access to everything. So you have to be very specific to which kind of data the access can be made. Second thing, you have to make sure that you have some kind of a control over the accuracy of data, because if you view this from this information security point of view, we have this CIA triad, right? The confidentiality, integrity, availability. So the integrity part is really making sure that the results are verified, that they're, let's say, trustable, right? So you also have to be careful on how you actually verify these results. To be honest, this part is not clear yet. I've actually found very recently an article in HBR, Harvard Business Review, on one technique that is used by Amazon, and how actually they use various different large language models to actually, where one checks the another, right? And then they have these specific systems on how actually this is done, so that the end result is much more accurate, or much more dependable, meaning that the integrity here is achieved. So I would say these two issues are the most important when it comes to security: access to data, making sure that this granular access is really ensured, and accuracy of results. This is, I would say, still evolving issue.
And it will continue to evolve for sure, probably for time, as long as time exists, it'll continue to evolve. Interesting to hear you mention that security is always at the top of everybody's list. So how is AI going to change the role of security managers and consultants, do you think?
It's a tough question. I would say both security professionals and consultants will, in my view, spend less time on I would say repeatable tasks. Okay.
Mhm.
So for example, I don't know, writing a document or I don't know, creating a training program. I mean, of course, you need to adapt it for a particular company, but if you actually upload all of the information about a company into AI, then AI can actually create a personalized training program or document for you.
Mhm.
Of course, you need to review it, but still, it can be done by AI. So if this is not going to be done by AI, then the question, if this is not going to be done by people, then the question is what the people will be doing. And in my view, what will happen is that especially consultants will deal more and more with this question of change management.
Mhm.
Because when you think about it, AI will bring a huge change in how companies are going to be organized and managed. Okay.
Mhm.
And this change thing, you can't really ask AI to help you with change in a company because, of course, you will have lots of say opposition to it, right? This is cannot,
Yes.
and this is where people come into play. This I would say human empathy and I would say a feeling on how to handle this resistance to change. This is something that people will have to actually spend much more time on. So I see professionals and consultants dealing more and more with these people issues.
It sounds like there'll be so much information there that we consultants will have to help clients interpret the information as well and figure out ways to use it themselves. As when you talk about change, I've often said variety is the spice of life, but people don't like change. And
No.
the only difference I've seen in my years here has been that if people decide themselves they want to do it differently, they call it variety. But if I tell them they need to do it, or their boss tells them they need to do it differently, then they call that change. And a resistance to change for 95% of the population just seems to be part of their DNA. But a lot of good articles out there. It kind of surprised me that ISO 9001 has clause 6.3 managing change. And the other standards I've worked with, including 27001, don't specifically address it. Now, there's some things in Annex A that talk about, security managing during managing change and managing the effect and hopefully positive effects on the system. But
Mhm.
I hope that the revisions that are coming in the future put that clause 6.3 in there because it is pretty critical. But back
There
to,
already is the 6.3 in 27001 about managing change. So it already there is, but I don't think honestly that most people actually interpret this clause in the right way. And this managing change and the resistance to change is going to be a bigger and bigger issue. And I think this clause will be more and more important as the time comes.
well, AI might actually help in this case because perhaps if the people who were resisting change used AI themselves and made it their own personal
Mhm.
uh, exercise, if you will, or project, that might actually, now that I think about it, help reduce some of the resistance to change. Uh,
Absolutely, actually, and sorry to interrupt, but there is also an interesting article in HBR which speaks exactly about this thing: how to actually use AI agents in, or let's say bots in some kind of a conversational way, where you
mhm.
actually help overcome these change problems. So it's yeah, very interesting approach.
That's a good idea. It sounds like a great idea. So we've talked about the security managers and consultants, but other employees in a company, how can AI help them with 27,001 or even just cybersecurity in general or information security? How do you see it helping them achieve the security that we all want for information?
Yeah, first of all, it actually makes it much easier for anyone to learn, let's say, bits and pieces that are important for them. So let's say that you have an upcoming management review. of course, you're not going to have a CEO or I don't know CTO or someone like that knowing the whole standard. It doesn't make sense. But you can at least, I mean, these people can at least get very good information about what management review is, what are the inputs, outputs, these kind of things. So one thing is about education itself. Of course, you can have, I don't know, when you have the meeting, you can have automatically the transcription out of this meeting. The AI can list all of the tasks that need to be done after the meeting. So these kind of things. So I think that AI will democratize the knowledge and make it much more easy for everyone to understand what needs to be done in their particular area of activities.
And you raised a really interesting point too. The volume of knowledge from AI is, I would have to say, literally infinite. So it was like the old idea of knowing things isn't going to be as important as how to use them. And I think in the case of AI, my intuition says that it's not going to be the person who can get the information that will have sort of a good handle on things. It'll be the people who can curate the information once they gather it all and pick through and figure out. And that's where the human part will still, I think, be huge, is that somebody's got to apply that huge mountain of stuff into their own organization. And I guess that brings me to maybe one of our last point. If a person were a CIO or a CTO, as you mentioned, where would be a good place to start for a security compliance professional or anybody related to that role in their company?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I think you should, I mean, anyone who wants to use AI should start playing around with it. Not necessarily with ISO 27001, but with anything that you are doing. And then as the next step really is trying to figure out how it can be actually useful, or where are you spending most of your time? Are you spending, I don't know, too much time, I don't know, reviewing documents? If so, then you can try actually use AI. Are you spending too much time, I don't know, doing some, let's say, for example, risk assessment maybe? Okay, then you can actually start using AI for that purpose. So whenever, or let's say building training programs, this kind of thing. So whenever there is something that is repetitive, that doesn't really require this, I would say, intuition, human intuition, then I think you should think about or semi-automating it using AI tools. And again, it's, I would say, valid not only for ISMS or 27001, it's valid for anything that you're doing in a company. And then build from there. Of course, there will be more and more tools, AI-powered tools that will be available for help. And of course, you can take a look at these. I mean, we are building also our own. But the point is, it's this AI is in the next couple of years. I think it's going to be built into any kind of a product that helps professionals in this area.
It sounds like a great opportunity for professionals to explore. And you just made me think of something. I was picturing a boardroom with the usual political battles that go on in those places, maybe even at your organization from time to time. And I just envisioned that AI could perhaps reduce a lot of the political stuff in organizations' discussions on how to move forward, or even how to solve simple problems or complex problems, rather than having the tallest person with the loudest voice.
Yeah.
This way you'll have some neutral but accurate, we hope. And you mentioned making sure you check things that are critical. But I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see that at work or not.
Actually, we're doing this internally. So I'm the CEO of the company. I have to think strategically, right? And of course, you never see the whole picture. And what we do is we uploaded all the information about our company into ChatGPT and started asking strategic questions. And when we uploaded everything, I mean, SWOT analysis, financial data, business plans, company profile, our competition, everything. And then we started asking, okay, how can we penetrate this or that market? What do we need to do that? Or does it make sense actually to go into this direction? Or how do we think that a certain competitor would react if we introduce a product similar to theirs?
Huh.
or which other standards should we go after, since we already have, I don't know, a dozen or so standards that we cover. So these kind of things are rather easy to do, and the return there is huge. You get so many options, you have so many things that you never really thought about, and
Yeah.
it becomes great.
And that's what I find with our clients as well. I mean, I've been at this 33 years and starting with ISO 9001, and I'll be working with a new client with ISO 9001, and I'll be darned if when we ask AI a question about sort of how would I comply to clause 4.1 context, and I'm a this and that and the other kind of company, things pop up there that I never would have even thought of. So it's, as you said, it's a vast pool of great information that if you use it right and use it safely, that it can really give you, as you just described in your own company, giving you ideas that just maybe we wouldn't have thought of at all. All right. Any last thoughts before we finish up?
I would say AI is here, is not going to go away. So either you embrace it or you simply fall behind. It's to be honest, so much has changed in the last 2 or 3 years since it
Oh,
started, and this
yeah,
is only the beginning.
You know,
absolutely. It's like
there
a
is
rock.
a large amount of layoffs going on in the United States right now, especially folks who are in the technology, engineering, education, healthcare space. And as a coach, helping them navigate this uncertainty of being jobless, AI has been an incredibly valuable tool, not only to help do research about a company, about a job description, a resume, helping with behavioral interview questions, writing cover letters, but also to do research on areas where that individual's expertise can make a difference. And just doing some of these queries and even researching the source of that information, I thought is very valuable. And I could, Dan, when you said this is continuing to change, and if you're not on board now, you're going to fall farther and farther behind. And I see that every day. I am curious, Dan, one quick question. And I realize you have a lot of clients that you currently are working with or have worked with, and I want to maintain confidentiality. But can you describe an instance that you worked with a company and they were the folks in the organization and they were just really blown away? I hate poor choice of words, but utterly amazed by what could be accomplished just by learning to embrace these types of tools. Can you describe one of those instances?
Uh, I mean, we are not consultants, so we are not working as a consultants, and we are not directly in the
Okay.
contact with people that are implementing this. They're using our products and tools to do this.
Okay.
But yes, I am in a contact with several people that are, let's say, in this compliance area, and so especially consultants, because we work with lots of consultants, and I mean, they are amazed. I was speaking the other day with one CEO of a consultancy company, something like 10 employees, and basically he's saying, look, a couple of years ago you would normally employ a junior consultant whom that you would actually groom and actually teach how to become a senior consultant, and it would take you, I don't know, a couple of years to do so. Now, with the AI, we have a junior consultant that has the potential to become a senior in, let's say, 2 or 3 months.
Mm,
Hmm.
But it's they can actually teach, help, use AI to actually help this person grow much quickly. But this also has another downside to it, because typically when you had junior consultants previously, then you would giving to these people some, let's say, lower level tasks, right? Now AI can do all of these lower level tasks. So there is a problem that with juniors, now you hire them because they need to grow into seniors, but there is no really work for them. AI took over this work.
Right.
For consultants, it's so much changing, and
yeah,
these kind of things, for example, are concerns for consultants.
sure. No, I see that
Mhm.
here in the US. That is the big fear, is the uncertainty of individuals' jobs and those routine tasks that can get completed early on through the use of an AI resource. Jim, did you have any final questions, thoughts you wanted to share with Dan before we head out?
Well, I fully agree with we are just dipping our toe into the lake of AI. It's probably an ocean more than a lake. And it's coming on so fast. I hadn't thought of that idea of yours, Dan, where if you're not on board, you're just going to be totally left behind. And I guess because of that growth, you and I have to help our clients stay safe using it. That's because it's so tempting just to go crazy in there and get everything done so quickly. But luckily, there's lots of information like our podcast today, and you have lots of stuff on your own site that Howard's going to make a link to. And I hope our listeners find a way to take advantage of AI without getting bowled over too much with it. And thanks for coming on today as well. Great to meet you.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and it was really a pleasure to discuss this with you.
Excellent. Dan, before we head out, where should our listeners go if they'd like to learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, I mean, Advisera.com is our website. They can see lots of free materials and articles there. I also have this YouTube profile where there are lots of videos around 27001 and some other cybersecurity regulations. And very soon I'll start publishing some videos around AI. So probably these two sources are good enough for a start.
Excellent. Well, we will provide those backlinks in our show notes, and you'll have access to our recording so you can take advantage of those as well. So, and I echo what Jim had just shared. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us on the ISO Review podcast. So thank you so much. And if you would like to come back on the show and perhaps there's some new thread of information, insight that is worthy of sharing, just know that you have an open invitation to come back on our site, because we really appreciate you, you and the information that you're providing. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored.
All right. Well, we're going to do a quick close. And before we do, just stay on the line, Dan, and Jim, stay on the line. We'll do that close, and then we'll come back for a final chat between the three of us.
Sure.
All right, folks, you have just been listening to another episode of the ISO Review podcast, another exciting episode about AI, and really appreciate we have truly gone international today. We had Dejan Kosutic, who is the CEO of Advisera, an information security and quality management company, founded in 2009, and they are located in Zagreb, Croatia. So I think I shared with Dan before the episode started that he has an open invitation to bring me over to do some podcasting. I can get packed and my passport is current, but do in all seriousness, folks, do pay a visit to the Advisera website, and we'll provide a backlink to it as well as to their YouTube channel on our show notes. As for the ISO Review podcast, you can find all these episodes listed on our website at simplifyiso.com. You can also visit us and obtain other resources from the International Management System Institute website, imsipro.org. As for me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Howard Fox or Fox Coaching Inc., and we'll provide backlinks to it as well. All right, folks, until next time, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, and we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the ISO Review Podcast. Take care now.